Social networking has quickly become the most popular activity on the internet. Facebook has more users than the entire population of America. Twitter grows 10 times bigger each year, and YouTube has 24 hours of video uploaded each minute. With so many people uploading so much information, online privacy has become a heated debate. Advertisers and companies are willing to pay big bucks for detailed information on their target demographics, and social media websites are perfectly poised to cash in on this interest. Sharing users' data with third parties can substantially add to a social network's revenue. Since its beginning, Facebook has made several changes to its privacy policy under the guise of making the world more social and connected. However, it is easy to imagine an alternative motive. Many users are unaware of how their data is being used. Whether by design or not, privacy settings can be overly complicated, causing users to disregard them entirely, allowing the world to spy on private information.
There's no doubt that the internet has changed the way the world communicates. There's no doubt that more people have access both to more information and to sharing more information.
It's just a keyboard and a small display separate me from the whole world.
What I'm concerned about is a lot of people don't understand how to control the things they do and say online in order to protect their privacy.
A lot of it is now coming to a head as people realise that it's not as simple as it was when they first signed up.
Companies want information about you and they'll get it. And so that might be a social networking website like Facebook.
Facebook is increasingly trying to share more information about a user with everyone else.
You can just see that from 2005, so you've got different things like friends, birthday, gender, picture, name, photos and such, and the blue is spreading to what information is available publicly. And I think it's just in the last kind of 6 months that it's really absolutely exploded in terms of what Mark Zuckerberg's trying to do with Facebook, which is make it the world much more open and shareable.
As long as the user understands what they're doing, then it's okay. But I suppose increasingly we're getting into situations where users don't understand what's happening.
Facebook is sharing private information with third-party websites. So even if you have protected your privacy information, this information is traveling a little bit further than you like to be.
When I work on radio and I get behind a microphone, I'm publishing something, I'm sending something out to the world. And it's the same thing if you're writing on someone's wall on Facebook, or if you're commenting on someone's blog. It's the same thing if you're posting a YouTube video. You're a publisher, you're a broadcaster. And this stuff, even though you might think it's inside a walled garden, something like Facebook or MySpace, it's out there for everyone to see.
Ideally, Facebook may have a setting saying, do you mind if certain companies receive this information and pass it back to other companies? And probably in that situation, if that question was asked on the sign-up page of Facebook, I would imagine a lot of users, if not most, would say, no, I'm not comfortable with that happening.
I think we're in an interesting stage at the moment where there's a lot of work being done in terms of understanding people who visit websites and gathering information from things like social media and social networking. A lot of businesses are making good money off this and targeting these kind of places. But we're in a period at the moment where I don't know if most of the public are a big fan of this kind of stuff.
There is increased interest from the business world in the data you share. Online monitoring has become a big thing. Companies such as Melbourne's Online 1984 monitor all non-password protected data, using it for the benefit of big companies.
Online 1984 is a methodology. We use a number of different softwares to feed into our portal the various tweets, blog posts, comments, YouTube videos, still images such as in Flickr or TwitPic and other environments, news articles. We use all of these different feeds to come into our portal where we then analyse them from a human perspective. It does sound ominous, but the fact is the work that we do is identifying information that's in the public domain. In reality, if it's behind a password, we can't and would choose not to access it.
This information is public information, all right? You would reach this information I reach through a Google search. I just have the potential to reach a little bit more information in a faster, in a quicker way than you be sitting down doing Googling one by one. I'm not talking about spying, I'm talking about intelligence, which is a completely different element.
The role of Online 1984 is not to make information less private. In my view, private is black or white. You've walked in the door and closed the door behind you, or you haven't. So I don't believe our methodology makes the information less private. It does make what is in the public domain more visible.
Anytime you interact with something online, or you do something online, or you visit a website, you're leaving a little breadcrumb trail.
So this is an example of one of the pages that Facebook have now filtered users' status updates through to. So if people don't necessarily have their status updates put onto private, what happens, it gets keywords and it aggregates them on this page, which is called My Stupid Boss.
With data online becoming increasingly visible, companies want to access it. Facebook is willing to sell supposedly protected information to third parties without our consent. So what can we as users do to make our information less visible?
You don't need to be a genius, you don't need to be a massive expert in terms of technology to break into someone's privacy online. It's around 80 to 90% of the people that use the same password across different websites. It's an alarming number.
Having a really secure password seems like a pretty obvious thing, but most people don't. So don't use things like names for passwords, particularly people you know, friends, family. Try not to use dates in your password that are reflected in your birthday.
If you set up a Facebook account, you can decide what you're going to be sharing with the world, what you're going to be sharing with your friends, and what is not being shared with anyone. Whatever you decide to put on the public domain, it becomes crawlable through Google or through RSS or through different elements, technical software elements.
Now, if you lock it down and someone gets access to it, I can see why you might have a problem with that, but if it's not locked down, if it's just out there in the open, then I'm sorry, then it's fair game.
If you ever say anything online, you should be prepared to say it offline too, in public. So I just think that people need to be conscious about that. I would never really go out there and say anything online that I wouldn't say in an event or to people face to face.
So you need to be accountable for the information you're putting outside there. You need to understand that becomes public somehow. If Facebook decides to change the rules and start to share this information, it's all about you, how much of this information you give away. If you give information away, where do you live, or what are you buying, how much you're spending, credit cards, all these sort of things, it's a personal level. So you need to be smart enough to understand what level of information you're sharing.
I think we need to sometimes stop and pause and say, you know, what are we releasing online? What will it mean? And who has a right to dictate what you put out there? And what does it actually mean offline as well?
It's incumbent upon all of us as individuals to understand more about this toy that we're playing with. People get very excited and they get carried away and they start typing. And only after they've done that, they may consider what they've written and where they've written it.
I think there's this idea that the younger generation, don't care about privacy. And Zuckerberg from Facebook can come out and say privacy is dead. It's the new world, and people who are online now, just aren't interested in it. Well, people who come around and go, privacy is dead, they generally want to sell you something.
If you go out and chat to the majority of people on the street about their hopes and desires for the future of privacy, they will not say that it is dead. They will say they're more concerned about online privacy than ever before.
Despite the rapid development of the internet, our attitudes towards privacy remain outdated. Users remain unaware of the implications of their activities online. Sharing information online is not the same as sharing in person. The possible implications are much greater. Online privacy is an issue which needs more consideration. If people retain their outdated attitudes towards privacy, the potential for an Orwellian shift in our society is a definite possibility.